The courtroom was uncomfortably quiet, the kind of silence that pressed against the ears and made the ticking of the old clock above the judge's bench sound like a hammer. The bailiff's voice rang out, deep and official. Case number 4213. Defendant, Daniel Carter. Heads turned as a man shuffled into the courtroom, escorted by an officer. He was tall but stooped, his back bent more from burden than age. His hair was long and streaked with gray, his beard tangled, and his clothes bore the unmistakable stamp of the streets: worn boots, a frayed jacket too thin for winter, and hands cracked from cold nights. Some of the onlookers whispered to each other. To them, he was just another homeless man, one of the many who drifted through the city, invisible until trouble dragged them into the harsh light of the law. His charge was minor: trespassing. He had been found sleeping in the back of an abandoned warehouse, trying to escape the snow. But when Daniel lifted his eyes, just for a moment, there was something in them, something old, something weary, and something that made the young clerk who glanced his way quickly look down, ashamed. Daniel Carter had once been a name people knew. But now, in this sterile courtroom, it was a name spoken without recognition. He stood without protest. No lawyer by his side. No family waiting behind him. Only the officer who had brought him in, and a few curious spectators who lingered because courtrooms, like theaters, had their dramas. The judge adjusted his glasses and glanced at the file. "Mr. Carter, you've been charged with unlawful entry into private property. How do you plead?" Daniel's voice was low, raspy, as though unused to speaking. "Guilty, Your Honor. I was just trying to stay warm." The judge, a stern man with lines etched deep from years of difficult decisions, paused. He had heard similar pleas countless times. But something in the name, Carter, stirred faintly in his memory, though he couldn't place it. "Not yet." The prosecutor, a young man eager to prove himself, stood. "Your Honor, this is not Mr. Carter's first incident. Records show multiple citations for loitering, public disturbance, and vagrancy. While none are violent, he has repeatedly ignored city ordinances. The state recommends 30 days in county jail." Daniel didn't flinch. 30 days inside meant 30 days of a bed, 3 meals, and warmth. For many like him, jail was not punishment but temporary shelter. Still, there was no bitterness in his eyes. Only a quiet acceptance. The courtroom rustled again. A woman in the back muttered, "Another bum wasting taxpayer money." An older man shook his head. "Probably drank it all away." They didn't know. They couldn't know. As the proceedings continued, the judge leaned back slightly, studying Daniel. Something about the way the man stood, even in rags, even defeated, was different. His posture carried discipline, the ghost of someone who once stood straight and proud, accustomed to command. The judge's eyes flickered to the file again, to the full name typed neatly at the top, Daniel James Carter. And suddenly, the silence in the room felt heavier. He knew that name. Everyone over a certain age did. But surely, it couldn't be that Carter. The judge's hand trembled almost imperceptibly as he cleared his throat. "Mr. Carter, before I proceed, I need to confirm something. Were you, at one time, Staff Sergeant Daniel James Carter of the United States Army? 101st Airborne Division?" Daniel lifted his eyes again, and for the first time, there was a flicker of recognition, like an old flame sparked in ashes. He gave a slow nod. "Yes, Your Honor. That was a long time ago." The courtroom froze. Murmurs erupted, sharp and stunned. People turned to each other, whispering, repeating the name. The prosecutor's confident stance faltered, his papers trembling slightly in his hand. Even the bailiff, a man not easily shaken, stood straighter, his jaw tightening as if he suddenly stood in the presence of someone who deserved more than shackles. The judge removed his glasses, his eyes glistening. He looked at the man before him not as a trespasser, not as a homeless vagrant, but as a soldier whose name was etched into history. And then, before Daniel could speak again, something extraordinary began to happen. One by one, people in the courtroom rose to their feet.